Are United worse off under Ruben Amorim? As with any football club in crisis, the blame game is heating up at Old Trafford. Having taken over a club plagued by long-standing issues both on and off the pitch, Amorim has so far avoided much of the scrutiny. However, the pressure is undeniably mounting on the Portuguese manager after his side recently sank to new lows, even by their dismal standards. Their latest 1-0 defeat to Tottenham deepened their woes, making it 8 losses in just 14 Premier League games under Amorim and the worst start for a United manager in that span of games since Sir Alex Ferguson's retirement in 2013. It's clear that Amorim was set up to fail, thrust into a dire situation mid-season with the task of implementing a radical new style with the squad not quite suited to it. While the club's dreadful on-pitch form shouldn't distract from the fact that their ownership is the real source of their problems, something that has been widely discussed on YouTube and in one of our previous videos, this video will instead explore the extent to which United's current crisis can be attributed to Amorim himself. Of all the challenges facing Amorim at United, his team's difficulty in scoring goals stands as the most glaring issue. Criticism of him may seem unfair, considering the lackluster squad he inherited and his growing injury list. However, he isn't entirely without fault, and some of his personnel decisions have certainly raised more than a few eyebrows. For instance, while it made sense to discipline Marcus Rashford by casting him aside, loaning him out may not have been the wisest call given United's struggles in attack and the board's financial constraints in bringing in replacements for both him and Antony. Of course, Rashford has had more than enough opportunities to prove himself as a consistent high performer during his decade-long career at Old Trafford. However, it's equally fair to argue that Amorim hasn't been at the club long enough to judge any player too harshly. Both Rashford and Garnacho faced disciplinary actions from Amorim, resulting in their exclusion from matchday squads due to off-pitch attitudes. So, the fact that Garnacho was able to work his way back into the lineup suggests that Rashford may have simply needed more time to regain his footing, especially considering he initially had no intention of leaving United during the January window. For United fans, it must be frustrating to see Rashford thriving during his early days at Aston Villa. By contrast, none of their current front three, Rasmus Højlund, Joshua Zirkzee, and Garnacho, have scored in the league since the defeat to Nottingham Forest in early December. Rashford, who last played for United in that same match, still miraculously has more goals than any of them. Meanwhile, Antony has been making waves on loan as well, having already scored 3 times in just 4 games at Real Betis. This matches his entire goal tally from 38 appearances for United last season, meaning he alone has already outscored the entire United team in February so far. The decision to let both Antony and Rashford leave without securing replacements seemed risky at the time, and is proving so now. Their departures have left Højlund, Zirkzee, and Garnacho as the side's only recognized senior forwards after Diallo's recent season-ending injury, which is no doubt the biggest blow the team could have suffered. With that said, United's attacking issues began long before Amorim arrived, where they averaged just 1.09 goals per league game compared to the slightly improved 1.12 goals per game in his 14 league games so far. By the way, if you're enjoying the video so far, subscribe so that you don't miss out on our future videos. Amorim is also paying the price for United's muddled recruitment strategy in recent years, which has left him with a squad ill-suited for his preferred high-energy 3-4-3 formation, which, mind you, was the very reason he was brought on board. There have been flashes of promise within his system, notably in the away win against Man City and more so in their front foot display against Liverpool at Anfield. Against Tottenham too, United had the better chances, and Dorgu's energetic cameo down the left flank highlighted the virtues of Amorim's formation when filled with appropriately athletic players. Yet, overall, it's hard to pinpoint any significant improvement since the days of Ten Hag, saying in a press conference following a damaging defeat that "we are the worst team maybe in the history of Manchester United" was bound to draw unnecessary attention to an already fragile situation. It raises the question of how he expects to motivate his players for the rest of the season after labeling them in such a negative light, and it remains unclear what he hoped to accomplish with that statement. His bluntness may have served as a direct message to Sir Jim Ratcliffe, urging the board to invest in new signings given their limited activity in the January transfer window up to that point. In the end, they secured just 2 arrivals, with just one being a senior level player, which ultimately left the squad thinner by the end of the window than when it started. Alternatively, the statement could be seen as an attempt by Amorim to deflect some accountability for the team's current predicament, essentially declaring that he can't work miracles without the necessary players, especially since he has made it clear that he won't compromise on his playing style. But while the best managers have a core philosophy, they are also adaptable within those parameters, adjusting their tactics to leverage the players' strength and respond to challenges posed by opponents. In contrast, Amorim's rigidity in sticking to a singular tactical approach, particularly when the squad lacks the talent to execute it, raises questions about his tactical acumen. He is treading a dangerous path, banking on the assumption that any manager would succeed if granted the 2 crucial factors out of their control, which is time and the right players, without considering the subtle intricacies that can complicate such luxuries. To watch our video on how exactly Amorim has changed United so far, click the first link in the description or the card in the top right corner. Ten Hag himself was granted those 2 things out of his control: time and the acquisition of preferential signings. However, an awakening occurred within the United hierarchy regarding his subpar performance in arguably the 2 key skills of being a manager: tactical acumen and man management. In hindsight, it seemed that time and having his players could not compensate for his failures in those 2 skills. Take the current season as an example. It was supposed to be the turning point for Ten Hag's United, as he had acquired, rather impulsively in hindsight, a significant number of players from his successful Ajax season of 2018-19. No excuses now, he had his players, was the sentiment echoed by pundits in England. But what he had overlooked during his final months in charge was the tactical side of the game, which became increasingly riddled with issues like the infamous deep defensive line combined with a high forward line that was continuously exploited by opponents until his eventual sacking. Very recently, an article on Sky Sports featured a quote from Gary Neville saying that Man United need 3 windows to make Amorim's system work. If you felt a sense of deja vu upon reading this, you're not alone. Amorim might yet succeed, but let's speculate for a minute. If he has these 3 windows and successfully brings in 5 or 6 players from his once dominant Sporting side, or players more aligned with his system, what happens next? What if the footballing dynamics have changed by then? Would his 3-4-3 system become too obsolete or predictable? What if the players he signs are mere shadows of their former selves? This focus on building forward with an eye firmly locked on the past could lead to repeating the very mistakes of the past. Just 2.5 years ago, it was Ten Hag who needed his players. Now, it's Amorim. In his defense, and considering a point that's often ignored, players in a squad must also have the capacity to adapt. No player should feel entitled to claim they were signed for a specific role or system without demonstrating the ability to adjust. In this regard, United's current crop of players seems to have let him down. It's not like playing wingback is a completely different sport in an alternate dimension. It's simply a variation of the roles wingers or fullbacks usually occupy, with some tactical adjustments. These players are well compensated and should be able to adapt without falling apart completely. But, as seen with many at United, that just hasn't been the case. Ultimately, Amorim needs results, and he needs them fast, as these weather-beaten United fans require some sustenance in the present before they can fully commit to another journey of feeble promises and endless patience. But how much of United's crisis is Amorim actually at fault for? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more football news, stories, and insights. Also, don't forget to hit notifications so you never miss a beat. And with that, we'll see you in the next video.